Hello, welcome back to Up the Villa. This is our match preview in the FA Cup for Villa against Spurs, joined by Earl. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Excited.
Yeah, it's we're venturing into the fourth round, aren't we? It's the fourth round that we're in the FA Cup. We're in uncharted territory at the minute. So on this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how Malen, Rashford and Asensio fit into this Villa system. We'll take a look at Spurs. We're going to predict the Villa lineup. So everybody at home, get involved. If you are new to the channel, make sure you are subscribing, smash the likes and comment your thoughts. But the opening to this episode, Earl, and the viewers at home, I want to know your footballing pet hate. You might have a couple, or you might have just one, that when you're watching a game of football, things just annoy you and you just don't understand why, and you don't understand why something's happening. So I'm going to kick it off with mine. And mine's a really new one that's sort of come onto the scene. And I just don't get it, and I don't know why they do it. It's penalties, right? And it's taking the ball off the penalty taker, holding it while everything's going on, and then giving the ball to the penalty taker. I just don't understand why they do it. And some might say it's like psychology, allows the player to sort of like get in his routine and get set, or it stops the opposition player like intimidating the striker. But I'm like, if Liverpool have got a penalty, we know Salah's taking it. So it doesn't make any difference if Gakpo has the ball, does it? So that's mine. So what are your thoughts on mine?
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. When they give the ball to someone, it's just not a believable penalty taker.
No.
Like for us, one time we give it to McGinn, didn't they? And I think we all knew McGinn wasn't going to take it. There's probably a bit more contention with us about whether it's going to be Watkins or someone else, but you just know McGinn's not going to be taking it anyway. So
yeah, and I kind of get it if you don't know who the penalty taker is, like that's perfect scenario. But like taking it off Haaland, like no point. We know he's taking it, and I just thought like I was watching the game against Spurs, and Salah stepped up and took it, and I think Gakpo had got it, and I was just like, what's the point? Like, and then it's just like everybody starts doing it, and it's so funny how like in football those little patterns of once one team does it, then they all sort of like follow suit. So what would yours be?
yeah, that was a funny one. Mine is, when there's an injury and then they have to go off for 30 seconds or something. I hate that. It makes no sense to me at all. You think if someone's getting injured and then you're kind of getting punished for that by having 10 men on the pitch, doesn't make sense. I get that, there's diving and simulation, all those kind of things, but sometimes when it's the obvious ones and the player's like clearly injured and then they have to go off for 30 seconds or whatever it is, that's my biggest pet hate at the moment.
And you're spot on with that, because have you started to notice that what will happen now is there'll be the captain from the team, then the player's injured on the floor. And you can imagine what the conversation is. It's, are you really injured or not? Because if the physio has to come on, you're going to have to go off the pitch. And then sometimes they'll just get up, won't they? And they'll be like, no, we don't need it. And then the weird part about that rule is the keeper can't go off. So, do you know what I mean? So if the keeper continually goes down, he never has to leave the pitch, does he?
No. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. I guess it is good in the sense it sometimes makes them jump up faster, but yeah, the ones where the player's clearly injured and then you're kind of getting penalised for the other team fouling you pretty much, or
yeah. I've got one more, and this one really does annoy me a little bit, and I don't know why they're allowed to do this. It's when a team has a free kick and the player from the opposition team stands over the free kick, and then the player that's got the ball will then just pass it sideways. And I'm like, why is that player allowed to sort of like stand in front of the free kick? I thought that was like not a rule, but it seems to be allowed these days. So that one really annoys me. And then obviously you've got cutting the holes in the socks. I mean, they're all doing that now, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a weird one with the socks, I guess. Can't they just make like slightly looser socks? I don't know.
Yeah, it's so mad. So it'll be interesting to see what all of you have got at home as your sort of like pet hates, and yeah, try and have some fun with it if you want to get a little bit creative as well. And so, Earl, I don't think I've spoke to you on here for a while. We chat regularly on WhatsApp about what's going on at the Villa. So Malen, Asensio, and Rashford. Initial thoughts on those three signings?
Well, my first thought is it's exciting. Like I said before, it's just exciting, and it's a bit of a boost for our season. I think just bringing excitement around the club, around the stadium with the fans. I'm sure will brings excitement to this FA Cup game as well. You know, we had the celebrations with the last one, but for this game as well, we've got kind of the anticipation of seeing, all these new players and big signings as well. So yeah, it's one of the excitement. I think it's a statement of intent as well, that kind of the season's not over. I know that's kind of obvious to say, but intent that we're really, going to push for those Champions League places and push to do something within the Champions League and hopefully the FA Cup this season.
Yeah, I'm exactly with you. It feels like, I think sometimes when you can get to January, you can sort of like rest on your laurels a little bit, can't you? You can be a little bit like, oh, like we've done well in the Champions League. Like, stick with what we got. We may progress further, or we're having a bit of a not so great season. Let's just regroup in the summer. But it feels like we've really said, no, we need to push on here. We need to capitalize. And I think we've probably looked at the league table and thought, oh, we're 4 points off fifth place, which is probably going to get Champions League. That's not a great distance at all. Let's put our foot down. Let's bring in some players that are really going to add to the squad and push us further forward. So I think we're going to highlight these three players first. We'll kind of partly do a bit of the predicted lineup, and then we'll touch on Spurs as well. But I really want to get your thoughts on Asensio first. I think Rashford and Malen, we can kind of get a vibe of where they're going to play. But Asensio, where's he going to fit into this Villa system? What position? Where's he going to be playing? What's he going to bring to Aston Villa, in your opinion?
Well, in terms of what he'll bring, I think he'll be that unlocker. We talk, it's kind of a buzzword nowadays, isn't it? The low block that we always come up against. And I think Asensio could be the unlocker of the low blocks. In terms of where we'll play, it could be anywhere really. I think on the right is probably where he's played most of his football previously in his career, and he's maybe started to move a bit more central as he's got a little bit older. But yeah, I think in our system he could play off the right, especially if we have like Cash or Garcia overlapping more often, and then Kamara or Bogard or someone kind of dropping from central midfield into the right back areas. We can then have the overlap. So I think he could play on the right if he's maybe not asked to provide the width as much and he's coming inside. In the 10, I think he could play. I think that might be his best position, kind of off the striker as the 10, kind of link in play. I think back to those few games when we had Tielemans in that position, and it didn't quite come off, but you could see what we were trying to do with that, kind of have Tielemans in those areas to kind of maybe keep possession a bit better. But yeah, I think that would suit Asensio really well in those positions, help us keep possession in the final third. Just his ability to kind of pick up the ball, maybe drop short, and then turn quickly, quick 1-2 passes and those sorts of things. And then I think he could even play off the left as well, if needed. So yeah, really versatile player.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited to see him play. I think he's got that. I think he's got something that we currently don't have. You know, that little bit of, I'm going to say like stardust, but that little bit of, I'm looking for a word like quality, like just that silky vibes on the pitch. Like we kind of don't really have that a little bit. We've got some very like workman like players. We've got real ball carriers that just can bump off players, but we don't have that player that can just play that through pass that's just like exquisitely timed and it's like perfect. Do you know what I mean? I think he's just that type of player that's just going to be something a little bit different to what we have. He's been schooled at Real Madrid. He's been playing at PSG, etc. And I just want him to bring that sort of like star quality to Aston Villa. So the next player I'm going to pick your brains about then is Malen. Now, again, he's a player that we've kind of seen a little bit of what Unai, where he wants him to play. He came on in the West Ham game, I think it was, or one of the games at home, and he played on that right-hand side. Then against Wolves, he played up top because Watkins went off. So that kind of shows where he's going to feature. So again, what are you thinking he's going to be like for Aston Villa? Get your thoughts on him being sort of like not in the Champions League squad as well. So yeah, talk to me about Marlon.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably something that I will say about all three, but we've talked about for a while and heard about for a while this versatile attacker that we're going to bring in, and we've ended up bringing in three. I think similarly as well. I think Marlon can play multiple positions, on the right wing, on the left wing, or through the middle as a striker. I think compared to Asensio, probably a bit more advanced, a bit more further up the pitch. As a goal scorer and finisher, probably. With the Champions League squad, yeah, you've got to be gutted for him a bit, haven't you? Because yeah, you'd imagine it was part of the sales pitch to bring him to Aston Villa that he was going to be part of the Champions League squad. So yeah, it's unfortunate for him that he's missed out. I'm sure he's gutted about that as well. I would have liked to have had him in the squad if it was possible, but looks like it's not. So,
do you think it was a case of initially we planned to have him in the squad and the transfer window evolved and we were able to bring in Rashford and Asensio?
Yeah, I think he would have been in the squad. I think it's probably Rashford that's knocked him out. Unfortunately for him, I don't think you plan to bring in. I don't think the Rashford deal was planned, but I don't think you pass up on the deal as well. So I think like an Asensio, JF, we don't mention his name on this channel, type player. I think that kind of player was always going to come in, plus a Marlon, plus a defender, and then I think Rashford kind of changed things in regards to Marlon. So
yeah. So then the final one is the biggest profile one, Marcus Rashford. I still can't believe that he plays for Villa. Like it just feels weird that we're talking about Marcus Rashford in a Villa shirt because I don't think that was on any Villa fans bingo card that's what we'd be calling out in the January transfer window. But he's here, and he's doing exactly what we want from him to do. I mean, there's now reports coming out that his first 2 days off at Villa were days off, and he said he wanted to come in and train. So he came in and trained. There's talk of him moving to Birmingham now. Emery's talking about how he's training exceptionally well. So positives there, everything that we want to be hearing as well. So Rashford then, he's a player that, on the left, I think everybody could probably say that's his position that he's done well in that he's excelled in. And being a Villa fan, you hear the Man United rumours over the years of he's not a striker, he doesn't like to play as a striker. But where do you think Emery has visioned him to play? Where's Emery thinking, this is where I get the best out of you?
I think off the left probably. I think he said as much. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him through the middle, especially with Watkins being out. But yeah, like I said, it's another player who can play in a few positions. Yeah, my reservations with him off the left is maybe not so defensive ability rather than defensive work. I think with the way we play, the left at times is more of like a left midfielder rather than a left winger. And you'd have a player like a Ramsey or a McGinn who's probably a bit more solid defensively than what I have in my head of Rashford. But I guess we'll see.
Regarding
that.
Regarding that, your point there, I was listening to Gary Neville, and he was talking about how if you're asking Rashford to put full press and opposition, he can't do it. But he was sort of saying that if you ask him to sort of like defend and sort of like slightly press, then he's capable of doing that. So I kind of feel like he should be okay at doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
we don't press, do we? So
that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, Aston Villa are one of the lowest teams for actually pressing the opposition. So tracking a runner, I mean, that's just a given, isn't it? Like, everyone can track a runner, surely. You're not going to give up on a runner. But I guess like flamboyantly, like starting in this position and then full pressing and then having to go. Do you know what I mean? So I think this role should suit him.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't want him to. I want him to get involved and build up a little bit, but I don't want him too deep. If you know what I mean, I want him like right on the edge of the opposition's back four. Threatening to run in behind. I want him to be a finisher because I think his finishing's really good. So I want him, like stretching defenses vertically and in positions to take shots and score goals. Really, I think kind of the build-up play behind him. You can have like a Ramsey who's good at carrying the ball forward and progressing play. But I think I'd probably say similar for Malen as well. What I want from them really is just being on the edge of the opposition's back four and really stretching them and creating that space for players behind like Tielemans, Kamara to actually allow them to have more space to build up.
Yeah, I think, if I look at the last couple of games for Villa, especially at home, West Ham, Celtic, we were so dominant for the first 15, 20. The game should have been out of sight. And we allow teams to get back into the game. And I think now with the firepower of Malen can finish. Rashford, a brilliant finisher. Asensio unlocking. I think we've looked at it and thought we need to take our chances more because we're letting teams off. And I think we can all look at the defence and say, like, we're not great defensively. And I think a lot of Villa fans have made a fair point of like, if the attack's better, then the defence, if you attack more and sustain the opposition with like territorial dominance for prolonged periods of time, they're not going to have that many opportunities to get out. And I think the thing that's happening at Villa is that, we're having against West Ham at home, we dominating that game for large periods of it. Their first shot on target in the 70th minute goes in the back of the net. So if you actually look at that, so from 0 to 70, they've not had a shot on target. Now, in that period, we've got to make sure that we are like finishing teams off or taking our chances or sustaining that possession for longer periods and controlling the game. So I feel like that's the way we're going to try and go about it. Really, we need the attack to bury the chances.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cliche, but it's a team game. It's not attackers attack and defenders defend. Everyone is doing everything. So, you know, you need your attackers to defend. They're the first line of defense, really. And similarly, your defenders they start the attacks. We know how important Pau Torres is, for example, and in how we play and how we start attacking. So we want to really get to the point where everyone's good at everything. That's the ideal scenario.
Definitely. And that leads us on. You're touching on defenders defending, attackers sort of defending from the front, pressing from the front and etc. We're playing a team in Spurs that are not very good, right? Let's be honest, they're not very good. But against Villa, they turn into like prime Brazil. It happens virtually every time we play them. The last 2 times we played them, they have blitzed us. And I do believe that there is in football some styles from some teams suit playing against different teams. And for whatever reason, Spurs at this moment in time are pretty decent at playing against Villa. And I think that's part of where we've been going wrong a little bit this season. If you look at, we get caught on transition, we are scrambling at times. That's how generally we tend to play against Spurs. So I'm going to run through some images of some of the goals that we've conceded against Spurs. And then, Earl, I'll get your thoughts on everything that I've sort of like showcased and then your thoughts on Spurs. So here are some of the goals that we've conceded against Spurs. And this was at Villa Park last season. So we can see that the first area where we have a bit of a mare is that we don't win the ball here. And what happens against Spurs, if you allow Spurs to transition and counter and isolate players 1v1 and attack at pace, then you're playing into Spurs' hands. So my biggest thing about going into this game is that in possession, we have to be structurally sound, because it's okay building up. But if we get caught and we're not defensively set against Spurs, we're going to have the same problem that we've had in the last 2 games against them. So here, first contact, we really should have tried to win the ball in this duel, but we don't. And then the ball goes into a Spurs player, and then Kulusevski runs off Luke and Earl, and he's running into this space here. But if you look at the Villa here, we've got 3 players that are trying to deal with this, and we don't deal with it. Then the ball goes inside, Kulusevski, Villa's high line, ball goes in behind. And this is all about what I'm saying. Defensively, we're not structurally set when we are building with our possession. Ball goes out to Sarr. Sarr plays in, it's a worldy cross, and then Maddison sticks it away. So we lose the ball in a area that we are trying to control possession. Now, again, against Spurs, away this season, Onana building out from the back. He's running, he's dribbling, he's trying to break free. And you're thinking he's actually in a good position here now, because he's breaking at the edge of his box on the opposition. He then plays a pass into Ollie Watkins. Now, fine margins against Spurs. And they are fine margins, because if Watkins nicks this round Van der Ven here, he's got sort of like acres of space to run into, but he doesn't. It gets cut out by Van der Ven, and then Spurs are attacking, and they've bypassed our midfield. And this is an area that you don't want to get into with players that are in behind your double pivot. This is a disaster scenario that players can get in and around our double pivot, and then our back 4 are being exploited. So fine margin. If Watkins nicks that round, this doesn't happen, but it does. And the fine margin is that the ball's now going to end up in the back of the Villa net, and he's dinking Martinez. So Again, we've got another one where they're able to break and yeah, we just lose the ball and we're looking light. But here's another one of how we are set up at Villa Park. And you can see that no danger for Villa, really. We've got the ball in the double pivot. We're passing it to Tielemans. It's a loose pass. But look how many Spurs players are in and around the Villa players. We have to be careful with possession, not to relinquish it. And we've got to find the outballs that can go into pockets of space out here. But we overplay in an area where Spurs have set a trap and they're able to break. And I mean, look at this. You know, there's 3 of them now that are raining down on the Villa goal. So I think against Spurs, it's just vitally important. Again, we've got another one, Pau Torres, past the into central midfield. It's cut out by the Spurs player. Again, they're able to break. They're able to drive forward. So I think my general gist of this, Earl, is that just don't give the ball away in bad areas. Don't risk it against Spurs because they will set a trap of playing it into an area, breaking. And I just want us to be defensively sound and not allow Spurs to get in positions that they want to get into. Like everything that I've highlighted here are areas that they're thriving, space, driving, pressure, pressing. And, you know, whenever I watch Spurs, they are generally awful. I watched them against Brentford. They were bad. Against Liverpool, semi-final, never showed up. Never had a shot on target, did they? You know, so this isn't a great team, but we've got to make sure that we are just doing the basics well against Spurs. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I watched the Liverpool game as well, and there's not much you can take from that game because they were just offered absolutely nothing. But I think from our perspective, you've always got to kind of plan for the best version of whatever team you're playing against, really. And yeah, we owe them one or owe them two, really. But yeah, with what you're saying, I think you can see from those screenshots, we shot ourselves in the foot a few times, giving the ball away in silly areas, and players that don't often give the ball away as well. I think one of them was Conter, and he doesn't do that very often. So I think in those games against Spurs as well, I think we probably could have scored a goal or two more than what we did. So I think on the face of things, those two score lines are quite bad. But I think if we just eliminate errors and like what we were saying earlier, take our chances, I think even those games where we're losing by 4 goals could look very different. Fine margins, like you say.
Yeah, they've got one player that I think is going to be like a superstar. Is that Bergvall? I think he's brilliant. I do. He's a player who I think has got a real big future. I think Gray is pretty decent as well. They've got defensive issues. Son's just not that same player anymore, is he? Like he's not that son of, you know. I've seen him at Villa Park like tear us apart when him and Kane were playing together, but yeah, he's not that player anymore. They've got no striker at the weekend. Looks like Tal might be leading the line. Kulusevski looked knackered against Liverpool. So, yeah, I think it's about us. It's about us being the best version of us and really taking it to them. And it's a big game for Villa. So we're going to take a look then. We're going to predict the Villa lineup then, Earl. So what are we going with? So we'll move these out the way and we'll go with the Villa lineup then. So he has to be in goal, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's first name on the team sheet, I think.
I mean, we've had a week off. Yeah, we've had a week off as well. So there's no midweek game. So we've been able to plan and prepare for this. So left back, you've got the decision of Luke Dean or Matson.
Tough one to start off with. I mean, I wouldn't be against either of them starting. I think if Spurs have their fully fit kind of Brennan Johnson, etc., who've got the pace. I'd say Maatsen. I think Dean's started the last 4 games, hasn't he? So I'd give Maatsen a run out.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So Maatsen. Gonna be interesting who we pick on that left-hand side then, but we'll do that in a bit. Right. So Kamara is gonna have to be at centre half then because Disasi can't play because he's cup tied. But I did see Mings walk out with a team the other day. So Mings is training with the first team. So
yeah,
might be a little cheeky that Unai's sort of saying he's injured, but or he might be sort of like just training on his own. But I think Consa starts, yeah.
Yeah, Consa.
And then the right back then,
of course,
it's got right backs Garcia or Bogard.
I'm going to say Garcia.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, I
Just
like
because
that.
I think he's a right back. Play him at right back. I don't think Bogard is a right back. We've got to fit right back.
Yeah,
got to fit right back. Just play the right back.
Yeah, you are right. He's not a right back. So double pivot then. What are you thinking? Onana, Tielemans.
I'm going to say Tielemans and Bogard.
Yeah. Okay. Why Bogard?
And I just said he's not a right back, but I think Garcia
I
when
know
he overlaps.
I know what you're gonna do. I know what you're gonna do. You're gonna go. He's overlapping, and then Bogard's gonna screen that back. Well, he's gonna be in that back 3 in possession, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that. Okay.
That's what I'm going for.
Okay. I'm with you here. I'm with you.
I'm not sure how fit Onana is.
Yeah, we've got to get him ready for the Champions League.
Yeah, I don't think there's any sense in rushing him back.
No, I'm with you on that. I think we've got to. He's breaking down every couple of games, and you know he probably is going to need to just get to pre-season, rest, good pre-season behind him, and then hit the next season. You know, there's just too many niggles. So I want to see him sort of, like you say, back 100% and going into that Champions League sort of campaign fit and fine. Right, we're getting into like the exciting part now where everyone's going to be like, what are they going to do?
Exciting and difficult.
Yeah, right. I believe because Watkins is out, that Malen is going to start up front. Do you agree?
I think Malen will start, but I've got him on the right.
Okay, right. So we'll go with Earl's vision. So you've got him on the right. So what this means then, we'll do what it means in a second then. Right. So who's the 2 up top then?
Up top, Rodgers and Rashford.
Oh, double R up front. Double R up front. So we got Rashford.
Yeah.
And we've got
Rodgers. Just behind him.
Okay. On the left then.
Ramsey.
Okay. Okay. Right. So how this team's going to transition then in possession. He's going to go forward. Is he going to drop a little bit and Malen support the striker then? And Bogard drop into that 3?
Yeah. And then you've got Maatsen overlapping as well.
Yeah.
Ramsey driving.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I kind of felt like Rashford on the left.
I think naturally Rashford will drift slightly left anyway. And then that way you've got Malen kind of coming into the box as well. Rodgers coming into the box. So that's how I'm going. I think I play Ramsey. He only played 45 minutes against Wolves, didn't he? But I think he's been. I he's been looking good. So I'd play Ramsey. I wanted to get Ramsey and Rodgers in there.
Yeah.
I didn't want to start too many new signings in altogether.
Yeah, I don't think Asensio starts this game.
I think we'll see him, but I don't think he'll start.
Yeah, same. I think he'll come off the bench. And then, so if that's the lineup then, so you're going to have McGinn on the bench, Bailey on the bench, Digne on the bench, Onana on the bench. That's got a bit of firepower on it, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
and Asensio.
And Asensio, yeah. So you've got all the firepower you could want off the bench really to change a game if you need to, and rotate and rest players throughout the season. So I think from a squad perspective, it's looking quite strong, especially going forward.
So this is Earl's team. This is what we're going to go with, and we'll see whether you get it right then, Earl, tomorrow. But yeah, it's only that front five, front six. It's got some serious ability in it. It's got a bit of everything as well, hasn't it? You know, you've got a right back that wants to attack. You've got Malen that can drift inside, finishers, dribblers, ball carriers. And I think the biggest thing as well that can get overlooked, like physicality and height. You know, our team now he's getting very tall, and I think you know that's something that, you know, when you look at sort of like Man City's team, they're all massive, and I think we're going down that similar sort of route as well.
And Arsenal, to be fair, it's I think it's definitely important. It was something we talked about a lot in the past, is how we've defended, you know, set pieces and those sorts of things. We've had a drastic improvement in that regard. I think we've
what do you think?
More goals in other areas, but
do you think McPhee's been rubbing his hands with his new toys he can use on his little set pieces? Like he's been like a kid at Christmas.
I think we've been a lot better defensively. I think, to be fair though, I think the offensive set pieces, corners, and the free kicks have been a bit boring recently. I think, you know, the start of the season we had some kind of who was that goal against, where we had Ramsey and, you know, running through and Powell was a block. Leicester, yeah. There's a lot more creative with the attacking set pieces at the start of the season. I think it's gone a bit samey. Every corner seems to be. There's a period where every corner was just front post to Pau Torres every time. Maybe a bit more, bring back a bit more creativity, I think.
That's what I mean. Hopefully McPhee's got his
save it for the Champions League final.
Yeah, definitely. So, Villa fans, hopefully you've enjoyed the show. Get involved as always. We'll be back tomorrow with the fan cams, and then we'll turn our attention moving on to Ipswich in the Premier League. So, cheers everyone. Up the Villa.